And a great classic hero story is about facing great adversity and triumphing.
But I wanted to bring as much of their life onto the screen.
We talked and talked, and it was like on a Sunday, and then you told me to go away.
I did?
Yeah.
But I was in your house.
I know, and I went into the other room.
Hi, I'm Maureen Lee Linker, and today we're here talking The Last Duel with Matt Damon, Nicole Holofcener, and Ben Affleck. Matt and Ben, this is a reunion for both of you as writers after quite a long time away, and you've brought Nicole into the mix. Why was this one it for you, and why bring Nicole on board this time? What inspired that?
Well, she's the best writer in the world, so that was.
We wanted this one to be good.
Yeah. But we hadn't written in a really long time. I think mostly because the first time when we wrote Good Will Hunting, we really didn't know what we were doing, and it took a really long time. And I think both of us probably thought that we just would never have that much time again because we were unemployed and
and living together and not doing much, and
Not
so we had a
doing
couple
much.
of years to make a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah, there was no deadline.
The goal was to get work, and then we started working, and so that became what we were focused on. But we continued to sort of collaborate and work together and show each other stuff. And then this book came along, and we found it, and Drew Vinton and our company found it, gave it to Matt, he gave it to me, and we were both struck by this story of this incredible woman and what she did and her heroism, and it just seemed so moving. And it also, because a part of the story as conceived was about trying to reveal the untold world of women that history didn't record. We thought we needed a woman to.
I wrote the girl part.
Well, and this was the best writer we knew anyway, so we got the best of both worlds.
Well, also, we because the men fastidiously recorded everything that they did and thought, and we had this whole template to go on. So we saw it as a story of perspective, the two male perspectives and then the female perspective, and so Ben and I had a lot to draw on from the book that we were adapting, but Nicole had to kind of create this world of women out of whole cloth, and so we needed someone of her caliber to do that.
I was a good wife. And then was judged and shamed by my country.
I say before all of you, I spoke the truth.
Nicole, what appealed to you about signing on?
Thanks, fellas. Well, clearly to work with these guys because they're talented as well. I love the story, and I love the chance to be able to tell the story about this heroic woman who nobody knew anything about, and to give her 3 dimensions and give her life and get her story known. So there was no downside to joining this team at all.
I want to talk a bunch about your writing process now. So first of all, I'll ask, what do each of you do when you're stuck or you have writer's block?
We just keep talking because normally we're together in a room or walking around. It's
Should I work it through, or wait for it to pass, or show it to Nicole, see what she thinks?
Yeah.
Then I take a nap.
or like we wrote chronologically, but I'm sure there were times where we said, let's just table this one and go. Let's if there was a scene that we felt we had a better handle on, you're always going to go back and revise. So why don't we just take a shot at this?
But as
scene?
Matt said, we had a pretty clear guideline in this because of recorded history. There were places that were easy to go back to because writer's block, like, well, I can't think of what next to say. Well, we knew what happened more or less, so we had something to go to. I don't know how Nicole did what she did.
Well, I did too. I had books to read and things about the period and things about what women did at that time, which was, not particularly exciting, but they did do things. They did play music and they did crochet. Yeah, but I wanted to bring as much of their life onto the
that
screen.
Interior life.
Exactly, yeah.
What are some of your writerly rituals? Did you have like a Last Duel playlist or certain snacks that you needed to have while you were writing?
Just whatever was at Ben's house.
Yeah, I don't think there was a...
It was just like, I don't know, we not too many rituals. We were just lucky to get it done, and sort of hard enough to schedule us all to sit down and work together. But it was.
We enjoyed working together, so we'd go off track and have a nice time.
Yeah, that was the problem. We would talk and hang out and gossip.
But I always found writing for me, like I was an English major in college, and I hated doing what you guys, where you guys stare at a computer screen and you're on your own. Like it's always been a social thing for me, and everything I've written with somebody else because I enjoy it. It's like we go and we talk, and kind of a screenplay kind of comes out of it, or ideas come out of it, and it's never, I never show up going, the scene is this. It's more like, what about this? And then she'll say something, or he'll say, you know what I mean? And it's just like you build, and suddenly you have a scene, and you don't remember who wrote what, but it feels right, you know? And also because we're acting in the movie, we're able to play the scenes and say, yeah, this feels like what I would say here.
Did you have any, because you're doing a period piece, did you have any research rabbit holes that you fell down where you ended up miles away from whatever fact you were trying to figure out at the beginning just because you were so
Nicole
interested?
probably did the most research in terms of outside research.
But there wasn't enough for me to go down a rabbit hole. It's not like I developed a whole thing that was not useful to the movie. There's not enough there. So no, I don't think so. And I've only written by myself and not collaborated with anybody else. So a lot of the time, I would work alone just to focus and then send you guys stuff.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't focus enough if it was a big discussion.
Like, shut the up.
Shut the up.
Just
Just let me work. Let me write.
Distracting.
Well, what was that process? Were you having a lot of conversations together and then going away to your computers? Were you in Google Docs sharing pages?
Oh, that was a mess.
That was a mess.
The technology was the hardest part.
yeah.
You're dealing with people not in their 20s.
It's like
yeah, exactly.
writing a whole scene on the wrong draft and then trying to figure out
How to import it to the right draft.
that wasn't good.
Was,
starring.
yeah, I do remember we were in France having to rework a scene, and we were talking, and we were at my house in the place I was renting, and we talked, and it was like on a Sunday, and then you told me to go away.
I did.
Yeah.
But I was in your house.
I know, and I went into the other room. Yeah.
I do that too.
I'm
I know
sorry.
the feeling.
That's okay.
A most unspeakable charge has been brought against you.
Jacques Legris entered our home. He attacked me.
The accusation is false.
I am telling the truth.
The truth does not matter. There is only the power of men.
This should be settled quietly. I'm innocent!
When the trailer first dropped, all the internet wanted to talk about was your hair, Matt and Ben. So you have the mullet thing. Ben, you've got a bleach blonde look here. Did you guys want the internet to wig out, quote unquote? Did you?
Well, there's
what
clearly
was the
nothing more
reasoning behind
important.
that?
Exactly. No, Ridley sent us early. Ridley's very visual. Ridley will send watercolors. Like I remember the scene where Legris shows up at the door. Adam's character shows up at Jodie's door. Ridley did a watercolor showing. You could see where the light source was going to be. Where he was imagining. It was like a storyboard, but done in watercolor. I mean, it was beautiful. And so Ridley's very visual, and he sent these looks. He put our faces on these and put these looks.
Yeah, in
on
my
us.
case, it was a Max von Sydow movie, and he loved this look of
In the
this
Virgin
blonde,
Spring,
and we
I
were
think,
sort of
yeah.
shocked. And Matt was this very stark thing with the scar, but because he's such a stunning visual artist, and because that's he's the director, you sort of trust him. And no, it's not the thing that you want people. I don't think people walk away from the movie focused on that, but it does serve to, I think, help us both feel not like how people generally see us, and also a part of this other world. That's my guess about his intention, although he just basically said, "This is how your hair's gonna look."
Yeah, literally, this is what you're going to look like. But, and then he would say to me, because my character was a very well-known, he just went to war constantly. Any chance he got, he wanted to fight all the time. And Ridley liked the idea of the mullet as if I just took a knife and cut the sides of my hair just so I could get my helmet on. And it's kind of all I cared about. And so there was a method behind the look. It was an idea behind the look. Ben's is, he looks unlike anybody else, and that's a real, we were talking about before, a
Sort of
visual representation
representing
of
power and different.
Right.
I am the sort of the patriarchy, the power structure, all of these things, and kind of embodied in this character. And I think visually, from the way I was dressed to adorned and the hair, it's a little bit separate. It was more shocking in real life, and because of the amount of cyan he puts in and the way it's desaturated, it's not quite so powerful, but I felt like it was just enough. I mean, naturally, people see you a certain way, they're accustomed to seeing you a certain way. It's one of the disadvantages of just having to also live your life in public. It just makes it more difficult for people to suspend disbelief when they see you as a character. But
well, a paparazzi shot under hard sun, that's not what he's going to look like in the movie, and people go like, oh, well, what's going on with his hair?
So the film has a lot of parallels to today in terms of believing women and male pride and toxic masculinity. Matt, was that something that stuck out to you when you were reading the book and deciding you wanted to adapt it? And then how did you make sure that was a through line throughout? Were you looking for parallels, or is it just inherent to the story?
Well, I just remember when I was reading the book, I just felt like, how would you make a movie? I mean, these guys are, they're born in the middle of this 100-year war. They fight all their life. They live this incredibly barbaric life, and then they die. And I'm going, well, who are you? How do you root for these guys? And it was really, I was really going to throw the book down until until Marguerite came into the story, and then understanding like what this woman did. She didn't even have personhood. She was the property of her father until she was married off and became the property of her husband. She's married off to a man who's basically the age of her father, and she if you follow her on this journey, it does this incredibly heroic thing again and again and again, speaks truth to power at incredible risk to herself. And I'd never heard of this story, and I thought it was the most heroic. I thought that she was just this amazing person to make a movie on. So it was really the story itself. All of the themes are there, obviously, and we're excited for an audience to see them and to be talking about that stuff. But it was just this woman, this hero that I'd never heard of, that kind of was the big draw for me.
I request a duel to the death.
If you lose, your wife will suffer dire consequences.
One of us has lied. Let us let God decide.
You do not believe me.
I am risking my life for you.
You are risking my life so you can save your pride.
Nicole, how did you feel pressure telling her story or bringing her perspective to life? I mean, what was that like for you?
I did want to do her justice, absolutely, and make her a sympathetic, whole, smart person. I felt like I just needed to really tell the truth about what we knew about her and the situation she was in. And what drew me to it is the same thing that Matt is saying, is that she was so heroic, that the story is so relevant, was amazing then and is relevant now. But I think we just focused on the great characters and the incredibly huge scale of the movie, and then ultimately it boils down to this one woman's heroism. And I did feel honored to be able to give her a voice.
Mm-hmm. When you're writing, what's the weirdest thing you do to make your process work for yourself?
Sometimes I go away and write elsewhere. Is that an answer?
Yeah.
Different room, different
Do you really pick
city.
up the laptop and go to a different?
Yes.
Maybe it'll be better at this table.
I'll lie on that bed, then I'll lie on that bed. I don't know. It's hard, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we do anything weird. This was like, my wife told me she hadn't seen me laugh this much in like many years, and I think that I do again find it like to be a really social. I find it really fun. It's like, and even though there are elements in this story that are really heavy, it was very. The whole experience was really joyful, and we'd kind of finish and I'd go home and I'd be lying in bed at night, and I like to print out the pages and mark them up a little bit, and I'd kind of be reading them, and I'd say like, I think this is really good, and I'd mark up a few things, and I'd come back the next day, and Ben would have marked up a few things, and we kind of put them together, and we'd like kind of revise that scene and go, okay, I think that's good. Let's kind of move on. And it just went a lot faster, I think.
It's
than I was
so
expecting.
wonderful collaboration too, having done all the various versions of writing, but not this, where myself and with Matt, and then bringing in Nicole was this, like Matt said, even though it is quite a depressing, in some ways, serious, heavy drama about very serious things, there was a joy to the collaboration because Nicole would discover stuff that you never thought of. So it's this both thing of both a sense of authorship and being surprised.
And
being
you as
added to
well.
by somebody brilliant. It's just this wonderful feeling of like getting a gift and seeing something extraordinary, and then what that then inspires you to think of, and then like, oh, Nicole thought that was good, and let's keep going with that. And so that collaborative aspect of it was really, really,
Well,
really
for me as
thrilling.
well. I mean, they're amazing writers. I do want to say, though, I mean, among our joy, along with our joy, I mean, there were scenes I was watching as they were being shot that were so difficult to watch. The performances were so real, and it wasn't all laughs because the reality of the situation.
The penalty for bearing false witness is that you are to be burned alive.
I will not be silent.
The most important aspect of this was to make sure that we were absolutely consistent and clear with just this woman's story is true. Her account is true. The filmmakers understand and recognize that. It's unequivocal in that regard. And to try to, really bring voice to this hero in exactly the way Nicole said, a classic hero and a great classic hero story is about facing great adversity and triumphing. And that's really what Marguerite de Carouge did. And that was, even in while there were like awful, nightmarish sort of aspects of the story, and so many unredeeming characters, and the characters that Matt and I play are not redeeming in any way, really. I mean, fundamentally, really deeply flawed.
Animals.
And yet, the idea of being able to, the excitement was, people don't know about this woman and what she's done for the most part. We didn't, we don't think many people did. And was sort of getting the chance to do that and getting it, this extraordinary gift of the collaboration this way is thrilling, just as a storyteller, because that's what's really rewarding. It's like you're generating empathy, you're trying to generate compassion, and we don't view ourselves as like some great educators or spokesmen or the people to go to about social justice or any of this stuff, but really as storytellers and people who recognize this woman's extraordinary story and want to tell it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And if you want to check out Marguerite's story for yourself, the film is in theaters October 15th.